This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Head to nordvpn/blokes and use the discount code blokes and you'll get 71% off a 2-year plan, plus an extra free month and a free gift. What do you know about VPNs, Dan?
Bargain. I'm going to use that myself. I actually use NordVPN, believe it or not.
Nice.
Got family who live overseas and they would remind me all the time, I can't get this, I can't access that, I can't. I said, get a VPN.
Yeah.
Which VPN should I get? I said, just use NordVPN. I said, it's the best one. I said, and he said, can you set it up for me? Sure enough, set it all up, sending the codes and everything. And
easy to do.
Very easy to do. Yeah,
nice.
I did it remotely. And but to use a VPN, for me, I mean, I use one myself as well. Whenever I log in, it's security on it's great.
Yeah,
so it's, I can watch stuff from different parts of the world which you wouldn't be able to access if you just go and especially when I used to live in the Middle East and all using a VPN there was just
Netflix, Amazon Prime, all that sort
everything.
of stuff.
You can access there's a lot of, especially if you're traveling as well.
Yeah, country
to country, there's a lot of restrictions what you can do to access certain things in other countries.
Yeah.
But NordVPN's the best one for me. It is anyway.
Nice. Keeps your data.
It's great that they're a sponsor of the show as well now.
Keeps your data safe then, I guess.
Yep.
Right then. So don't forget, head to NordVPN, type in /blokes, type in discount code blokes, and you'll get 71% off a 2-year subscription with a free month and a free gift.
71%. It's almost free.
I know you'd be crackers not to, wouldn't you? Right. Cheers for that one, guys. Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I am Office Bloke Dave Santorini.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
And Daz, Office Bloke Daz. Hungry Daz.
Hungry Daz today.
Yeah, go and check out Office Bloke Daz's channel, Office Bloke Daz on YouTube, where he does a segment called What Daz My Head In, and it's very much like, but not the same as What Grinds My Gears from Peter Griffin. But yeah, we just had a bit
everyone's doing me edit this weekend. Fucking
no shit.
Go on, go.
We've got some material just today, haven't we? In the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, nice.
It started on the bank.
Unfortunately, we stopped recording just as the bank rang you. It would have been great to have that rant. Anyway, right, how a SEAL team took down Osama bin Laden minute by minute. What?
Yeah,
I've heard.
I've watched quite a bit.
It was huge news, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it SEAL Team 6? Was it or SEAL Team 5?
I have no idea. Don't know.
Right, how SEAL team took down Osama bin Laden minute by minute. Let's do it.
Tirelessly searching for one man, Osama bin Laden, the terrorist mastermind behind the September 11th attacks that killed almost 3,000 Americans and triggered a war that was still raging today. May 2nd, 2011. While the United States had toppled the Taliban, the government that was sheltering bin Laden at the time of the attacks, they had never been able to capture or kill the man. That was about to change. The CIA had been searching for bin Laden's secret base for years with no luck. He had managed to escape from Afghanistan, which was under U.S. occupation, and travel to the neighboring country of Pakistan. But in the mountains, rural regions of Pakistan, with little government oversight, it was easy for him to stay under the radar. The government had been looking for leads for years, but finally got their break in 2010, when their leads led them to a compound in Abbottabad. They began taking surveillance footage of the compound and determining the best way to breach it. What followed was one of the trickiest intelligence gathering operations in U.S. history. The compound was heavily guarded and in enemy territory. The U.S. had to rely heavily on local help to gather intelligence, and over a period of months they spied on the 3-story building.
Is Pakistan enemy territory for the States?
No,
it's not, is it?
They're neither.
Yeah, they're kind of neutral territory.
They're not neutral. I wouldn't say they're neutral. It's a state that's like it's very what's it run? What do you call it? Not religious, but they have
fundamentalist, maybe
tribal,
right? Okay,
yeah,
it's a very tribal run state sort of thing. So every little bit has its own little tribes that sort of like run the little districts they're in.
Yeah.
So when you go in there, if you're not a local, they look upon you, they frown upon you.
Yeah,
they're more sort of allied to sort of China, really, aren't they? They're sort of like quite close to everything, aren't they?
I would say so.
It's a natural ally, although obviously they always get one with Britain and most countries, I think, don't they? But I think they're a bit sort of
very
waver, can't they?
You got to be careful there. Put it that way. No matter what the government says or the government may rule. I mean, the government's in turmoil at the moment anyway over there, but it always has been. But it's not a stable country, let's say.
I wonder with our history with India, maybe there's a thing with Pakistan, because India and Pakistan were at war at one point.
Well, we've got a lot of history with Pakistan as well.
True. I suppose I'm just nitpicking with the terminology there.
Yeah,
it's
very tribal run. You just got to
same country, weren't they?
You've got to tread carefully there when you're there, because if you upset the wrong people, then it turns into a war very quickly. It can escalate very quickly.
I've got no plans to go anytime soon, so I'll be all right.
We're going to send you on location. We're going to send you to Islamabad on location.
Sounds great.
Direct flight, PIA from Manchester.
Sounds great. I'm off that day.
Every detail about the building, but a lot was still missing. For one thing, the infamous terror leader was incredibly secretive, so secretive that they were never able to capture an image of him coming in or out of the building, so everything was still circumstantial. But after an extended period of time, they were able to conclude that this was where Osama bin Laden was. Now it was time to take action. It was April 29th when President Obama was briefed on the details of the operation. Many within his security team were skeptical about the operation. After all, if it went wrong, top US troops would either be killed or remain trapped behind enemy lines. Not only would this be a disastrous loss of life, but it would potentially expose many of the US's biggest secrets if they were interrogated and forced to reveal classified info. And with the doubts that bin Laden truly was in the compound, many didn't feel it was worth the risk. Ultimately, the president disagreed, and he gave the okay to the operation that would become Operation Neptune Spear. And the people carrying it out would be the best of the best. Meet SEAL Team 6, an elite squadron of the highly trained Navy SEALs. They answer directly to the Joint Special Operations Command and carry out some of the most highly classified operations in the US government. These include hostage rescue, special espionage missions, counterterrorism, targeting of enemy infrastructure, and direct action against the deadliest of US enemies, like Osama bin Laden. They would be briefed on the mission, which would be classified as capture or kill. Officially, the US has the policy of never killing an enemy who had already surrendered, but no one involved in the mission had any delusion that Osama bin Laden would ever surrender. And to pull this off, they had to implement some risky strategies. The planning had been going on for the better part of a year, since the intelligence reports started coming in, and many strategies had been considered. The easiest would have been a joint operation with Pakistani military forces, but the Pakistani government wasn't exactly friendly, and the US was worried that bin Laden could be tipped off in advance. The US also considered striking at the compound with stealth bombers, which could atomize bin Laden, but there would be no way of following up to ensure he was already dead, and the tricky terror leader had managed to escape US operations before. So instead, the government decided to go old school.
That would be an act of war against a foreign power, though, wouldn't it?
Not if you get permission.
But the problem was there, I think, that they didn't want to seek permission from Pakistan, did they, in case they had people there that would sort of tip him off.
Yeah, but
I think that was a problem for them. But
I think something like that with Pakistan and countries like that, if you sort of like, I think things like foreign aid come into the question as well. So and all things like that, and sort of like say, well, you know what, we've done it. We're sorry. We killed 7 or 8 innocent people in the meantime as well, but we've got our target. There's fucking £2 billion now.
Yeah, they'll make a big song and dance publicly, but privately they'll probably think.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's a crazy story, though, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Poignant as well with September the 11th coming up, which is probably the day this video is going to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the 9th today, isn't it?
Team 6 would be flown in using modified Black Hawk helicopters that were designed to be quiet and would be able to fly in under enemy radar. The Pakistani military had been heavily trained and supplied by US advisors, so their capabilities were known, and the US was confident they could get around them. The goal was to get to the compound without being detected or challenged by the Pakistani forces, and once the target was down, they would be able to beat a hasty retreat. May 1st, 1:22 p.m., Defense Secretary Leon Panetta received word from the president and directed Admiral William McRaven to move ahead with the operation. Within the next 2 hours, President Obama and his national security team would move to the Situation Room to watch the whole thing unfold over night vision images transmitted to them from a drone. The roughly 24 Navy SEALs sent on the mission would temporarily be transferred to the control of the CIA, so it would technically not be a military mission and would not be classified as an act of war. These were going to be some of the most critical minutes in the US's modern history, and for the men on the ground, every single minute would count. While the roughly 24 SEALs were the ones who would breach the compound, there were 79 commandos and a dog involved in the raid. The dog, a Belgian Malinois named Cairo, was there to alert the SEALs to any sudden activity, including the Pakistani military approaching the compound or anyone trying to escape. The core team was backed up by a dog handler, interpreters, pilots, intelligence agents, and tech experts who would make it all possible. But the success or failure of the mission would hinge on the men entering the compound, and one wrong move could spell doom. 3:30 a.m., give or take. 2 helicopters descend on the Abbottabad compound, while the other helicopters stand by in case they're needed. These 2 will carry out the primary mission. Flying low to the ground, the stealthy Black Hawk helicopters hover over the compound grounds. While the first deploys ropes to lower its team to the ground, the other heads to the far northeast corner to covertly drop off its interpreter, dog, handler, and 4 SEALs. If everything went smoothly, they would soon be at the compound. But everything didn't go smooth. While the helicopters weren't detected and they didn't come under hostile fire, Mother Nature had something to say. The first helicopter flew into what's known as a vortex ring state, an air phenomenon caused by higher than expected temperatures creating an air vortex. The rotor's air pressure didn't diffuse properly, the helicopter was knocked off balance, and it grazed the back of the compound wall. The tail rotor was seriously damaged, and the helicopter started rolling over. The quick-thinking pilot drove the helicopter into the ground nose first, preventing a total collapse, and the SEALs and crew were able to escape unscathed after a rough landing. Now the only question was, had this blown their secret mission? The answer seemed to be no, as there was no sign of aggression from the compound. The SEALs had successfully weathered a crash landing without being detected. The helicopter was secure against the compound walls, and the other helicopter had landed safely outside the compound. The rest of the team was scaling the walls, and the whole team was reunited. The next step was breaching the compound, and that's where the SEALs explosives team came in. They needed to get in quick.
Just before they start blowing stuff up, the fact that he's got a security detail with him and they didn't notice a helicopter crash in the garden.
Not only that.
I know, yeah. What they're doing one job.
That police helicopter that flies around Manchester, I can hear it when it's over like Bury.
Yeah.
Coming over our house. And I'm like, that helicopter's out. And they've got the TV on and everything, I can hear it. Some fuckers above my room like in one of them in a Chinook or whatever.
He's crashing in your back garden and you'll hear it.
You know about it, I know.
They did say a modified Black Hawk, didn't they, to make it quiet, but I'm sure there's only so quiet you can make a helicopter.
Yeah.
That air displacement is going to be making enough noise.
Maybe they're all sleeping with like the fingers on their eyes and the muffs on their ears, so they can't hear anything.
No, it's like I say, if I'm waiting for the Deliveroo driver, I can hear him when he's coming down the road.
Yeah. I've got a helicopter that flies the pipelines that surround Northwich. It just does it all the time, to make sure that there's because there's gas pipelines as well.
Yeah.
And apparently that's what it's doing. So I've got a helicopter very frequently around mine.
Yeah.
It's proper noise.
You've heard it, yeah.
Crash lands in your back garden and you're like...
That could have been a failure before anything, right? We all went to kill Osama and what happened? The fucking helicopter crashed outside.
Yeah.
And
that's what the crazy levels of training are for, though, isn't it? Because even if something does happen, now what?
Plan B,
when it fixed it, sorted it.
When it all goes smoothly, I'm sure lots of people could do certain jobs, but the highly trained ones are the ones for when it all
These
goes wrong.
guys, I mean, some going.
No panic, and they come out with the result.
Yeah.
And hit people inside with shock and awe. Outside preparation was key, but once they were inside, every second would count. 10 years of searching had come down to this: 3:33 a.m. To get through the security, the SEALs used portable explosives to blow open the doors of the compound's guest house one by one. They breached the compound and began storming up the stairs. The first room they encountered on the first floor contained 2 adult males, but neither was Osama bin Laden. They were detained, but they weren't the target. More disturbing, every floor seemed to contain small groups of children. This wasn't just a terrorist compound, it was home where the terrorists kept their families, regardless of the danger they were putting them in. And with every floor the SEALs ascended, the danger would escalate. 3:35. What happened next? Reports of that may vary. As they reached the second floor, they encountered more resistance. This is where bin Laden's courier, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, was found, and SEAL Mark Owen would controversially write a book on the firefight. He claimed that al-Kuwaiti was armed and fired on the SEALs. While one SEAL was lightly injured, they returned fire and killed the evil courier. However, intelligence sources later said that the SEALs were able to get the drop on the man after cutting power to the compound and eliminated him without him fighting back. What was clear is that they still hadn't encountered the man himself. 3:37. It was time to ascend once again, and the resistance became fiercer the further the SEALs headed into the...
That's kind of what I'm getting at there, is about the noise levels and stuff like that. All that happened in 7 minutes, didn't it? Yeah. The helicopter was up in the air at 3:30, did it say, at the start?
Yeah.
And then now they're inside having a gunfight at 3:37.
Hand-to-hand combat.
So even if they did hear the helicopter and thought, what the fuck's that noise?
Yeah.
That sounds like a helicopter. Plus, there's probably deep sleep at 3:37. I'll either that or cranking one out to fucking magazine it reads.
It's listening to Slayer, wasn't he, bin Laden, having a wank?
Possibly, yeah.
One of the two.
So he's like, I'll just finish off. Sounds like a helicopter, but I'm almost there.
I'll check in a minute.
I mean, we don't know what levels of ambient noise there were where he was anyway. Was there industry near him? Was it a plane route? It could have been normal train lines.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. You never know, but maybe.
They'd encountered the courier, as well as his brother and wife, and all enemies had either been killed or captured. As they ascended the staircase, they encountered another enemy, and this one provided a glimmer of hope. After the al-Qaeda soldier was killed, the SEALs identified him as a son of Osama bin Laden, one of the terror leader's many progenies who followed in his footsteps. And if he was there, odds were good his father wasn't far away. 3:39. There was only one floor left to be breached, the third, and the SEALs were steeling themselves for yet another disappointment. This was clearly a high-level al-Qaeda compound, but bin Laden had been notorious for staying one step ahead of his pursuers, and he could be far away by now. But as they breached the third floor, it became clear this time was different. In the third floor's main room was Osama bin Laden, seemingly unarmed and wearing the loose-fitting tunic he was usually seen wearing in his many propaganda videos. The SEALs got their first glimpse of him as he stuck his head out of the bedroom, and they didn't miss their opportunity. They immediately fired, wounding him. However, he was able to retreat back into the bedroom, and the SEALs pursued. The room was revealed to contain many of bin Laden's female relatives, including several of his wives. One approached the SEALs as if she were charging, and the SEALs quickly shot her to wound, grabbing her and advancing further toward the terror leader. Osama bin Laden had nowhere left to run, and America's most skilled soldiers were right outside his door. What happens next? Reports vary. Matt Bissonnette, one of the SEALs on site, claims that bin Laden had been mortally wounded by the initial shots as they approached. His wives were trying to protect him, and the SEALs were forced to act as any one of them could have an explosive device. But when they pushed past them, they found bin Laden on the ground, mortally wounded. As he moved, they fired multiple shots and neutralized the terror leader for good. But another SEAL had a very different story. Robert J. O'Neill would become one of the first SEALs to identify himself as one of the men on the mission, and had a much more dramatic recollection of the events. In his retelling, Osama bin Laden might have been wounded, but he was far from neutralized. In fact, he was strong enough to grab one of the women in the room and hide behind her, using her as a human shield. As bin Laden pushed the hapless woman toward the SEALs, O'Neill quickly fired 2 shots directly into bin Laden's forehead and killed him. Which report was accurate? The Navy after-action report favors Bissonnette's retelling. And just like that, one of the most notorious enemies of the United States was no more. The SEAL team radioed back, "Forgotten country, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo," officially confirming that the enemy had been killed in action. The entire affair had taken less than 15 minutes from landing to the elimination of Osama bin Laden, one of the most efficient operations in U.S. military history, and had been completed without a single death or serious injury to the entire Navy SEAL team. Watching from the Situation Room, President Obama uttered the words the entire White House team had been waiting to hear: "We got him." But the mission wasn't over just yet. 3:55. The SEAL team members quickly sprung into action, securing bin Laden's body and moving it downstairs. They would be exiting shortly, but there was still some extensive cleanup work to do. The compound might be a source of vital intelligence, and they thoroughly searched the room and surrounding area. They found 2 weapons in the room, an assault rifle and a pistol, but the efficient team had managed to neutralize bin Laden before he could reach them. They weren't loaded, indicating the al-Qaeda leader was not expecting a firefight. But what to do about the other residents? Almost everyone who had engaged the
I think his guns weren't loaded because he had so many wives in the room with him.
Better things to do.
He'd get murdered by one of them in an argument. Keep picking it up, clicking it at him. Next time I'll get you.
Yeah, I think it was definitely an element of surprise, wasn't it?
Big time.
It must have been. Yeah, hugely. Must have been.
I'm sure there are varying stories. In fact, he said there was, but the Navy SEAL who said he shot him in the head may have been thinking about his future as writing books and things, to be the guy that actually killed bin Laden.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think it's right doing things like that, sort of after the event, on such a big story like this? Obviously, they're doing it to earn a bit of money, aren't they? Is it right, though, on something like this?
I think they should be allowed to do it. I love listening to podcasts with military guys telling their stories and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's so interesting to listen to.
I bet, yeah.
I think, like, over here, if it's the SAS doing it, it has to be signed off by the SAS. Yeah. You know, if it's about a mission or stuff like that. Yeah. Otherwise, they get...
well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Maybe they're compromised in future missions if they have to do something similar, you know, if they do it in a similar way.
Or you could be compromised. You could be admitting to an act of war, like a proper, you know, something that another country would go, wait, you did what?
Yeah, you have to be careful what you say.
Yeah, of course. I
think so, yeah. Maybe you got clearance to do it, you know what, I don't know. You know, maybe they've said, you can tell your story if you want. Yeah. If that's the case, then fine. But yeah, just always wondered that whether it's sort of the right thing to do.
If you tell stories over here,
you get disavowed, or there's another word for it in the
beat up.
you're just not welcome, because like all of the ex-members are welcome back.
Like discommunicated sort of thing.
Yeah. But I the first book I read on stuff like this was like that. Was Bravo 20.
Yeah.
And they made the series of it with Sean Bean.
Yeah.
And there's conflicting books of that as well. Some of the other guys that survived it have written books that kind of...
A different point of view and different stories.
Saying a real different story to what Andy McNabb said.
Right, okay.
So in the heat of battle and stuff like that, I'm sure there's like adrenaline and crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be, hasn't there?
Well, you might also get the situation of like, well, why did you shoot him after he was dead? And he said, I didn't think he was dead. He wasn't dead.
Yeah,
I was just neutral. That's why I put 2 bullets in his head.
Yeah,
just to make sure he was dead. He looked like he was alive to me.
Double tap.
Maybe, yeah.
Because there's always questions asked about that. We see it in the British military.
Yeah.
Where they say you shot him, he was already dead.
Yeah.
Well, why did you shoot him dead?
My feeling is that they're always going to neutralise him and shoot him. I don't think they had any thought. I mean, from my point of view, I don't think they probably had any thoughts of capturing him.
There's nothing to gain from capturing him. You've got everything to gain from killing him. It's so symbolic. After everything that's happened,
capturing him and taking him to court.
Go to court and he becomes more of a martyr to people.
Exactly.
Then he becomes a preacher inside as well.
Precisely. Yeah,
true.
Yeah, he had to die.
Yeah, eliminate.
Same reason they dumped his body in the sea, isn't it? It was so that there'd be no
grave and nothing no focal point sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not expecting a firefight. But what to do about the other residents? Almost everyone who had engaged the U.S. troops with weapons had been killed, but the compound was full of civilians. The U.S. had no desire to take all the women and children found there into custody, so they non-violently restrained them and left them outside the compound to be found by Pakistani forces. Most didn't put up any resistance, besides the injured wife of bin Laden, Amal Ahmed Abdul Fattah. She berated the SEALs in Arabic for the entire duration of the cleanup mission, and it seemed the Yemeni woman was a true believer in her late husband's mission. She, like most of the people found there, would eventually be deported from Pakistan back to their home countries in the Middle East. And now it was time to make a clean getaway. 4:05. Bin Laden's body and every important piece of intelligence or evidence had been secured. Taking what they needed, the first helicopter was loaded and primed for takeoff. Much like the landing, this was a low takeoff to avoid detection. For those back in the US, the SEALs were heroes, but this was an unauthorized mission, and it was unlikely the Pakistani forces would be grateful if they were caught there. But much like the first time, SEAL Team 6 pulled off a perfect getaway and exited the compound. But there was one more matter to attend to. 4:08. The damaged Black Hawk helicopter that crashed into the compound would not be leaving through the sky, and Pakistani forces would be there shortly. The chopper contained vital information about U.S. military capabilities, because it wasn't just a standard helicopter and had been outfitted with stealth features. So before they departed, the troops used the same portable explosives like the one they'd used to breach the compound and gave their fallen chopper an explosive send-off. This only took minutes, and soon one of the backup helicopters brought on the mission arrived, scooping up the remaining SEALs and flew them off to join the first helicopter. The mission was over, and now it was time for a long ride. 5:53. The ride back was over an hour and a half, more than 3 times the length of the mission that killed Osama bin Laden. But now that it was over, they had to get back to safe territory, back in US-occupied Afghanistan, where the Americans had been fighting since the days after September 11th terror attacks. While it was unlikely the Pakistanis would fire on a US chopper if it was detected, a stealthy escape would go much smoother. So the US troops had some disinformation efforts. As the various explosions led to crowds before takeoff, an Urdu-speaking American military officer claimed it had been a Pakistani operation being carried out at the compound and to keep their distance. It worked, and the Americans landed safely at Bagram Airfield, carrying the body of Osama bin Laden. Now it was time to deal with the aftermath. 7:01. Back at the White House, the celebration was tempered by one question. Was it really him? Bin Laden was infamous for using body doubles, and there had been multiple times where it was thought he had been killed, only for it to turn out to be a feint. So everyone waited anxiously for the results of the preliminary examinations of the corpse, and over an hour after the SEALs arrived in Afghanistan, a new report came in indicating that the notorious rogue was actually dead. This time, the United States had gotten their man, and the American public was about to find out. It was the evening of May 1st when word started going around that the president was going to be making a speech on TV that night. Usually, when Barack Obama made a planned speech, it was early in the evening during prime time, often to the annoyance of everyone who was trying to watch their favorite TV show. But this unplanned speech on short notice was different, and political watchers kept waiting until the president ascended the podium at less than half an hour to midnight. And as soon as he opened his mouth, people knew this was big. 11:35. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. As the president paid tribute to the many who died in bin Laden's terror attacks, a spontaneous celebration erupted around the country. It was just short of 10 years since the September 11th terror attacks, and many Americans lived in fear of the next attack. As word got around, large groups of fans attending sports games screamed in joy. Democrats exulted in the biggest foreign policy win of the Obama presidency, and Republicans celebrated the end of an enemy while wondering if they should even bother running against him next year. And there was only one thing left to do. 12:59. It was a little over an hour after President Obama's speech, and the troops had one major piece of business left to attend to: what to do with Osama bin Laden's body. The terror leader had been fully tested and examined, and they were sure he was their guy. He had been checked for any vital intel, and the body had no more secrets to give up. The only thing left to do was dispose of the body, but there was one problem with that. No one wanted him. Bin Laden was wanted in just about every country on the planet, and even countries where he had sought refuge, Pakistan and Afghanistan, considered him an outlaw. No country would want to give him a grave, because it would be a massive target for radical activity. No one wants to have an Al-Qaeda pilgrimage in your country every year, so why not just cremate his body and be done with it? Cremation is against Islamic tradition, and as hated as the terror leader was, the government still wanted to respect his faith. No need to anger his followers any more than they already were, given that their leader had just been eliminated. Fortunately, there was an alternative. Bin Laden's body was loaded onto the aircraft carrier Carl Vinson, and the U.S. government called the government of Saudi Arabia for approval to dispose of the body. He was a Saudi citizen after all, and the Saudis were important allies of the U.S. government at the time. And the Saudi response was, "We don't care what you do with him, just don't make it our problem." The plan to bury Osama bin Laden at sea was approved, and the body was treated with Muslim religious rites. There was even a brief reading of Arabic religious statements, at which point the body was draped in a white shroud, placed in a bag loaded with hundreds of pounds of iron chains, and placed on a wooden board. As the board was tilted forward, bin Laden's body slipped into the sea, ensuring the terror leader would never have a grave that could be visited by loyalists or targeted by enemies. And now that the entire operation was over, there was only the cleanup to attend to. It was roughly 3 a.m. local time in Pakistan when the army chief received a phone call informing the country of the operation that took place in their borders. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff filled him in on the details and likely smoothed over some angry words. While there was some brief dispute of whether any Pakistani forces had been involved, the government denied this, and reports stated that the Pakistani planes which scrambled to the location had only arrived after the U.S. forces had departed. This is not where the aftermath ended, though. The raid that killed Osama bin Laden had played out over less than an hour, but the follow-up would span years. Controversy centered around the legality of the raid on foreign soil. Although the laws passed after 9/11 gave the U.S. wide latitude to eliminate threats abroad, Pakistan wasn't pleased with the U.S. operating on their soil, and the U.S. wanted to know more about bin Laden's network of support in Pakistan. Neither got too many answers. Conspiracy theories persisted about bin Laden's being alive, although the US government releasing some photos of the terror leader's corpse largely put those to rest. And there was one more inevitable act. Once the operation was partially declassified, various members of the team started putting out memoirs. Some varied in details, and most made the person writing the book out to be the hero. So naturally, it wasn't long before Hollywood came calling. Only a year and a half after the death of Osama bin Laden, the movie Zero Dark 30 was released, and its pick for the hero was a fictional intelligence analyst played by Jessica Chastain, because it wouldn't be a key moment in American history without Hollywood putting its own spin on it. Want to know more about this famous manhunt? Check out Weird Things Navy SEALs.
So it was declassified then, to be fair. So that allows them to tell the story then, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's the emotional side of me is looking at that, and it's like, cremate him. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I know I'm going back like 3 or 4 minutes now, but then it's such a smart move to actually respect his religious beliefs.
Well, you don't want to incite any kind of like more aggression or more unhappiness amongst his followers, like they said.
Yeah.
But what you've got is, what I never understand about this is when anything happens in a military, like British or American or Western military, there's always like a massive thing afterwards saying, well, did you kill him in the right manner? Did you do this? And they bring soldiers in, and they sort of like some soldiers get prosecuted for doing what they do. And in the meantime, the Taliban are back in force in Afghanistan. Now, are we not bringing them to sort of like any kind of like justice to sort of like have a word with them and say, well, hang on a minute, this is what you did. And let's fucking address that now.
No, if the book's on the other
we don't do it. It's always one way, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what winds me.
Of course it is, yeah. Like Taliban, Bin Laden. If they'd got hold of like a British politician, American politician, or something, they would have absolutely annihilated him. They wouldn't have bothered about their religious beliefs or anything like that.
Exactly,
absolutely not.
But I think you've got to be careful not to become the thing that you're fighting against.
That's why they took the moral high ground. That's why I said, right, Muslim beliefs will we'll do what needs to be done.
I'm not saying
the
that.
right way.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, an eye for an eye or anything like that.
What
I'm saying is we're bringing people. Where's the accountability?
Yeah.
When are we bringing them to justice and so like saying this is what you did as a group? We've already dealt with our soldiers, which is you're at war. You don't know what a soldier's going through when someone's pointing a gun at you.
Yeah.
Someone points a gun at me in the street. Yeah, I'm retaliating.
Yeah.
Best I can.
I'm pushing someone else in front of me.
Yeah.
Kicking him in the leg and
grab my take him.
Human shield. Cheers, lads.
Don't worry, you're the oldest.
More dispensable.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've had a good life.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And
I know where to stand, don't I?
There was a high-profile one of a British soldier that shot someone that was, I don't know if they were mortally wounded or not, but he went up and finished them off.
Correct.
And did prison time for it.
It's a big thing at the moment. It's us and the Australian army that are up being. It's the BBC who are pushing it, and it's kind of winding me up a little bit. The BBC are constantly going after our soldiers, saying, "Well, they went to a compound and there was 5 men all armed," and they say, "Well, were they armed?"
Yeah.
What do you think? You're in the middle of fucking Afghanistan, mate, in the mountains.
Exactly,
Of course they're armed.
They've got nerve anyway, because
the postman's armed there.
There's been a documentary running lately with was it David Dimbleby about things the BBC have done wrong in the past. It's like they're trying to make up for
they are,
like the Jimmy Savile case. They knew all about it and everything, but they just absolutely ignored it. Then they did like a Christmas special about him as well, didn't they? And things like that when they knew what was happening. I mean, that's just one of them. There's a load more stories that this documentary's been doing.
Yeah.
But
I always look at the wokest as the ones with the most to hide. And when the BBC are coming out making documentaries about everyone's mistakes over the years and trying to make them look bad, it's because you've got so much.
Look at yourself first.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the stories, we all know about them, but it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Even about the Diana interview. How Martin Bashir got the interview with her.
It took, what did it take, 20 odd years to...
even though they knew about it. They knew about it at the time, I think.
Yeah, they knew about Jimmy Savile.
They were part of it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But anyway, diverting off
we digress.
But the thing is that it's like they're trying to make up for, past discrepancies, shall we say.
I think that's fair game. If the guys... I don't think many people would argue that that's not fair game. You went in, you did the job, collateral damage was minimised.
Absolutely,
happy days.
It was a murderer. They got a murderer there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
He didn't he got what he deserved, basically.
Yeah, but the other side of it as well is if Pakistan come knocking on the door and saying, "What have you done?" Just say, "Listen, mate, you're harbouring a terrorist. We'll deal with it. You're obviously not dealing with it, so we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Most wanted man in the world. You're doing nothing.
They must have known
we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out, and you just sit tight."
Of course, people absolutely knew he was there. Where do you think the Americans got the intel from in the first place?
You'd have a big compound like that. People don't know locally who's living there or anything like that. Exactly. It just doesn't happen, does it?
They probably support us. He probably wasn't accidentally in that particular area of Pakistan.
Absolutely.
It's probably a stronghold of people with
similar
beliefs.
But it'd be absolutely be people that think along the same lines, so it'd be felt as like a safe area, won't it, for him?
All the USA had to do to Pakistan is give him one of them, they're all like, whoa, and then let him go and go, yeah, exactly, now sit back down, right? Listen to what I'm saying.
On a global scale, unfortunately, that's flexing missiles at
probably
each
flexing, just do a little flex and just like pipe down.
But the guys that go in there, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the mentality of these guys, knowing what would happen if it went wrong, got caught.
Yeah,
but
bad.
Do you ever watch SAS?
Who Dares Wins?
Who Dares Wins?
I used to. I've not watched it for a while.
It was on the TV last night. I was watching it, and it's the guy who runs it now. He's not Middleton.
He's American,
an American guy.
Yeah.
God, he's a beast.
Yeah,
you just look at him and think, ooh. You know what I mean? Like, oh, stay over there, you. Yeah, don't come over here.
Oh, yeah, they're absolutely. Some of them man mountains, aren't they? They're just sort of. They're just so tough. Them guys.
But you even see the intelligence, the way they act and the way they behave. You know, it's not all brawn and stuff. Things like it's just the smart way they behave.
Yeah. That's what
clever guys.
And Middleton used to say that a lot on that program. Though it's like we're not looking for the toughest. We're not looking for the absolute loose cannon nutcase that's going to go in all guns blazing. You're looking for control and you're looking for
absolutely, of course.
Yeah,
control is so level, so balanced.
Controlled aggression. That's what they all say.
Turn on the animal when you need to, and then bring it back down to being disciplined.
A lot of it's mental. I mean, so much of it's mental. I think, when you these guys, in that position.
Yeah,
it's
beast.
Unbelievable. They are unbelievable.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.